Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
Hello, welcome to the Monday edition of Cody Talks NFL. I hope you guys had a great weekend of football. I know I did, even though my Colts lost to the Raiders. Pretty disappointing about that. But there's a lot of action going on, a lot of parity in the league. We got 13 2-2 teams. There's no really clear-cut team, for being through the first quarter of the season. Yeah, the Patriots are undefeated, but we saw them both struggle in their games yesterday. So everybody seems beatable at this point, which is why I love the NFL. I'm going to go ahead. This episode, guys, it's going to be a little bit different than my previous Monday episodes. After every 4 weeks, I'm going to kind of do a quarterly review, or basically a season progress update, I guess, if you will. But before I get into that, I'm going to dive into the three biggest pieces of news that came out throughout the weekend. This weekend was actually pretty quiet on the news front. Nothing juicy or anything like that. So these three news topics are kind of meh to me, but it's probably the only ones that I could really find that I thought would be somewhat interesting, or at least needed an update on my episodes. Diving into the first topic, the NFL and the NFLPA. They are still working on that CBA that's going to come up after next season. The sources say that they're trying to work on it to get it completed during the NFL 100 season. So we'll see if they'll be able to get that done in time. According to the reports that came out yesterday morning, there have been multiple staff meetings this month that yielded additional progress on secondary issues. The standoff on the most important issue hasn't changed at all. Owners, of course, want the regular season games while preserving their share of the revenue, and then the players want more share of the revenue without adding the regular season games. So that's going to probably be the biggest thing that's going to hold things up. So we'll see if they'll be able to meet the middle ground on that situation. The report also added that sources say that there are tentative agreements on issues that involve benefits, raising minimum salaries, improving former player health care, workplace rules, how grievances are handled, and health safety. Also, non-economic issues that owners and player leaderships have discussed on bargaining sessions is marijuana. Both sides on the board want to make a jointly negotiated policy moving forward. So obviously, so it doesn't affect guys like Josh Gordon, who had no reason to be, he had more issues outside marijuana. People actually look into it. He had alcohol issues. That's more stuff. But the same thing is he's been suspended for marijuana when he probably really shouldn't have to. As far as where I think on this, where it's going to go, I think the NFL, and I also think the NFLPA understand they need to get this CBA done. They don't need to linger it into next season. They don't want this to linger all the way into a lockout. Now, I know most people and, NFLPA is getting their players ready for a potential lockout. But I think with how much momentum the NFL is rolling right now compared to the other sports, if you look at the ratings, all the ratings are up this year. I mean, they're making so much money. You can't afford a work stoppage right now with the NFL. The ball is rolling, money's coming in, money talks. So I think they just need to figure out the middle ground on that money and then come to that agreement. Will it get done this season? I kind of lean towards it not being done. I really think the players really want to at least get some guaranteed money, at least get a bigger share of the revenue. So we'll see where this goes, but I think this will get done eventually and we won't see a lockout. At least I hope that, right? I don't want, you can't never say never, but time will tell on that issue. Moving on. Like we all know about, Sam Darnold got mono earlier this month, and the Jets are coming off their bye week. Speaking of that, I do want to apologize to Jets fans and 49ers fans. One thing I want to pride myself on is even if there's no news or injuries, I at least want to say your team name and say what's going on if there's no updates or anything like that. When I was putting together the schedule last week, I didn't think about including the bye teams. So that's why I missed talking about you guys on Friday's episode. But to be honest, there's no really updates as far as the 49ers. But with the Jets on the Sam Darnold update, it came out yesterday per Chris Mortensen. He still has some hurdles to clear before he can play this week. He's going to have more tests done today on his spleen. If it's not enlarged, he can begin practicing and working out. His cardio has been limited to walking and stationary bike. It's not a lock, but they are hopeful. So look out for that, right? I'm sure there's going to be an update that comes out today at some point if he's able to practice with his test done on his spleen. Now, if he's not practicing, maybe then he might miss this week against the Eagles. Talking more about more quarterbacks, my last biggest news topic that came out from yesterday is the Bears and Bills, who are surging in the first quarter of the season. Both teams are 3-1. Could be out without their quarterback, at least for a week, maybe even longer. Mitchell Trubisky on the first drive hurt his shoulder. There's been no confirmation on what exactly he hurt, but the team ruled him out pretty quickly, which is not a really great sign. Tests are going to confirm that today, but Ian Rappaport came out this morning and said that he's not expected to miss the season. I think Chase Daniels is one of the better backups in the league. I think he can do enough to help Chicago win. But he's not going to get in a shootout. But luckily they have that defense, right? We saw what that defense did yesterday. So the Bears should still be able to – I don't think they're really going to miss much with how Trubisky was playing. I mean, his numbers weren't out of this world, and Chase Daniel can do enough to at least get those numbers and help get to the same type of victories that Chicago has been getting so far this season. With the Bills, Josh Allen, if you guys didn't see it, he got lit up on a kind of a dirty play yesterday. He's currently in concussion protocol. It's something to monitor. The concussion protocol is something new. I first of all, I don't want to touch on because let's make sure the guy's healthy, but you can't really get a gauge of feel. Sometimes guys get in concussion protocol and they're out the next day. Sometimes guys get in concussion protocol and they're in there for weeks. So it just depends on how bad that hit was for him and how he's dealing with it. If there's anything to update on the Friday episode, I will. Obviously, when I do the injury updates, that will be pretty telling if he's able to play this week. Now, I think with the Bills, with Matt Barkley, are in a more of a danger zone, I guess, would be to say. Because, Matt Barkley, he did kind of put him in a position to almost tie it and then go for the game-leading PAT yesterday. But his throws were kind of off. They weren't that pretty, and I don't know how many games the Bills can win without Josh Allen. And Josh Allen was having a bad day yesterday, but I still think if he would have finished that game, the Bills would have found a way to win. And then moving on to tonight's game, the Monday night matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Steelers. As far as the injury front on that, tonight's game, AJ Green's still out, and Adam Schefter actually came out this morning and said that he's expected that he will miss then at least the next 2 weeks. So I don't think they're going to rush him back anytime soon. I think they're going to wait till he's fully healthy. And I'm still on the train that the Bengals aren't going to do anything this year. He's on the final year of his contract. I would like to see them get him healthy and ship him to a better team. And then Ryan Glasgow, Kerry Wynn, and Cordy Glenn are also out. Carl Lawson's doubtful, which pretty much means out. I really don't understand why teams designate a guy named doubtful when he's probably not going to play. It's very rare a guy's listed as doubtful and he suits up that day. On the Steelers front, Roosevelt Nix, Vince Williams, and Anthony Chikello are all out tonight. Vance McDonald, same thing. He's doubtful. He's expected to miss tonight. And then Jaron Elliott is questionable heading into the game. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I don't know, man. Both teams are hard to gauge. Both are 0-3. Basically, you could argue whoever loses this game is probably going to finish last in the AFC North. They're probably going to have a long season ahead of them. I think either way, both teams are going to have a long season ahead of them, no matter who the winner is. I'm picking the Bengals in this one just because I can't believe I'm saying this, but I trust Andy Dalton more over Mason Rudolph. The Bengals, they play teams tough. They play the Bills tough. They play the Seahawks tough. The Steelers, they played the 49ers tough, but that's a game they should have won big time because they had forced 5 turnovers. I think the Bengals just find a way to win. I think this is going to be one of those classic close AFC North win games. I think the Bengals win 24-21. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Bengals do find a way to pull it out. And I think Joe Mixon's going to have a big night on the ground for them as well. He's kind of been struggling throughout the beginning of the season, and I know with that new scheme, they want to get the running game going as much as they can and lean on a guy like Mixon. So I got the Bengals winning tonight. And then going on, and like I said, this episode, guys, it's going to be a lot different than my previous episodes. On Mondays, I'm not going to sit here and give a a brief recap of the game and talk about injuries or anything like that. I'm basically every 4 weeks throughout the season, I'm going to give a quarterly review who I think is going to be like the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year for offense and defense, Coach of the Year. I'm going to look at the current playoff picture for both conferences and then go by division, where everything stands, how I think the teams can do, what to look forward going on for the rest of the season. I'll start off in the awards section. MVP, it's pretty easy, even though he did struggle yesterday, but he did lead their team to a game-winning drive against the Lions. Yes, Patrick Mahomes, pretty simple. He's my front runner for the MVP. I really can't even think of anybody else that I'd put in there ahead of him. He's right now he's got a 67.9 completion percentage. He already has 1,510 yards passing, 10 touchdowns. He's yet to throw an interception this year, and he's got a 120.4 passer rating. Barring a utter collapse by him, he's probably going to win the MVP the second year in a row. The numbers he's putting up are ridiculous. I mean, I was on the board that there's no way he's going to go over 50 touchdowns again this year. Well, he's making me put my foot in my mouth now. He didn't throw one yesterday, I believe, if I remember right. I think they were all short running touchdowns when he got them there in the red zone. So, I mean, he's got his team 4-0. They're number one in the AFC right now as far as seeding purposes for the playoff picture. So until it's his, I think right now the MVP is to lose. And then, like I said, I'll update him on where I feel about that in the next 4 weeks. As far as the Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going Christian McCaffrey right now. It's the Offensive Player of the Year. I think it should be outside, giving Patrick Mahomes the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year. I think it should right now, hands down, be in Christian McCaffrey's favor. He leads the league in rushing yards. He has 411 rushing yards. He's got 4 touchdowns on the ground. He's also got 23 receptions, and he's got 218 yards in receiving on the year. Now, a good stat that came out last night is he actually joined Jim Brown as the only players in NFL history with 3 games with at least 175 scrimmage yards and 1 touchdown in their team's first 4 games of the season. He is really taking that team and putting on his back, especially with Cam being out. He's helped them lead to these past 2 wins. And I mean, if he finds that corner too against the Bucks, I mean, the Panthers could be 3-1 right now, tied with the Saints. So, I mean, he's keeping the Panthers in this season. I mean, without him, I mean, the Panthers are probably sitting at maybe like a 1-3 record, if not like a 0-4 record right now. The kid is balling. I'm not sure if he's going to hold on to this. We'll see if he can continue and sustain the success throughout the season. But right now, he is my early Offensive Player of the Year for this season. Moving on to my Defensive Player of the Year. Total surprise, coming out of nowhere, Shaq Barrett for the Bucks. This guy has been a difference maker on that defense. This guy is why their team, they're 2-2, but you can argue if Matt Gay makes that chip shot field goal against the Giants, the Bucks are easily 3-1 right now. Their defense has been much improved because of him. He's been balling. He's got 9 sacks, an interception. I believe the stat too is he's the only player with like 8+ sacks and an interception in the first 4 weeks of a season. He's got 3 forced fumbles, 2 pass deflections, 20 tackles, and 7 tackles for a loss. I mean, the dude is balling. He's making plays. He's getting pressure on the quarterback. He's got the stat line to back it up. Now, just like McCaffrey, will he sustain this type of play throughout the season? Obviously, this is something we've never seen from Shaq Barrett before, but he is setting himself up to get a major payday in this offseason since he signed a 1-year prove-it deal with Tampa. If he can continue this, and if the Bucks can get on a hot streak and at least find a way to get into the playoffs, maybe win the NFC South, I think Shaq Barrett can hold on to this and win the Defensive Player of the Year. We'll see how he performs over the next month or 2. But as of right now, he is my lock to win the Defensive Player of the Year. But we'll see how he can do going forward. As far as the Rookie of the Year awards, this was really hard because there's no like clear-cut guy that's like as a rookie that's completely dominating right now. But there's no bottom tier guys. I don't know. It was really hard for me to pick, so I don't have a leader in both of these for the offensive rookie of the year. I threw a few names down, and now I just thought about one too that should be considered as well. Daniel Jones, obviously, it's easy for a quarterback to win rookie of the year because the ball is always in their hands. But I think this will determine based on how his team performs throughout the year. Daniel Jones is one. Hey, look at Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is leading his team to victories. He's balling out for him. He's a possible candidate. Now, he took a hit yesterday, but his numbers were out of this world in the first 3 games. But Terry McLaurin for the Redskins, I think it's a long shot for him to win it. But with the stats that he was putting up, he has to be an early consideration for the role. Josh Jacobs, too. He's been putting up some good numbers as a rookie running back. His team's 2-2. He'll always get the ball in the hand. So obviously, offensive rookie of the year is basically more on volume of opportunity over talent. So I think it would be one of those guys as of right now. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and put my stamp down on either of those names yet, but those would be my early leaders. On the defensive side, I would say, even though he doesn't have the stats, Nick Bosa, if you go look at the tape, has actually been one of the biggest reasons why the San Francisco defensive front is dominating right now. So he's making an early case to be in consideration for that. Brian Burns has been getting after the quarterback for the Panthers, why they're kind of getting their defense is looking really good over the last couple of weeks. Devin Bush, he's been getting some stats. He's been looking good, even though the Steelers are 0-3. If he can help lead the Steelers to victory tonight, and then he can continue to perform all year, he will be in consideration. Darnold Savage has just been flying all over the Packers defense and making plays for him, so I think he's an early consideration. But like I mentioned, for both offense and the defensive rookie of the years, I can't really put one down. It's really like, it's not like all the rookies are underperforming or anything, but there just isn't like an early overachiever. I mean, if Terry McLaurin would have played this past week and he would have got his 100 yards and a touchdown, I guess he would be the early overachiever. But there's not a clear-cut guy that's going to win either of those awards right now. So I'll look to see if anybody can separate themselves from the pack over this next 4 weeks. And Coach of the Year, this was actually pretty simple. I mean, if the Bills would have won yesterday, which I think, like I said earlier, I think they could have won if Josh Allen would have stayed in for the rest of the game, I would have went with Sean McDermott. But I got to go with Sean Payton, man. I mean, yes, he's obviously one of the better coaches in the NFL. But, I mean, he's led his team to a 3-1 start. Without Drew Brees the last 2 weeks, he went into Seattle and beat up on them. And then he beat the Dallas Cowboys last night on Sunday Night Football. Now, that was in New Orleans, but they were able to slow down that Cowboys offense, which was eating all the teams in the first 3 weeks alive through the air and in the running game. They were able to slow them down. They contained Zeke Elliott last night, and the Saints continue to have the longest streak of not allowing a 100-yard rusher in the NFL. So I think he should be the clear-cut runner right now just because the Saints are winning without Drew Brees. And he has them on top of the NFC South as well. So my early runner is Sean Payton. We'll see if they can continue the Saints to win without Drew Brees. But, I mean, if the last 2 weeks are any indication, they will. Because when people looked at the schedule for the 6 weeks after Drew Brees' injury, everybody was like, well, Seahawks, Cowboys, they'll probably lose those, but they can win the other 4. Well, now it's like, well, shoot, they won those 2, and then the upcoming 4 games for them before they get Brees back are really winnable games. So we'll see if they can continue the success. But if I had to put a vote in for the Coach of the Year for the first quarter of the year, my vote goes to Sean Payton now. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to my conference/division preview, quarterly recap, whatever you guys want to call it. So I'm going to start in the AFC. The current AFC playoff picture is kind of wild when you think about it. Outside the top 2, top 3, I guess I guess the wild card teams more I look about it because people did expect the Browns, but when you think about the past history of the NFL, the bottom three teams are teams we don't typically see in the playoffs. But as of right now, I pulled this off NFL.com. So this is the current standings in the AFC. The Chiefs have the 1 seed. The Patriots have the 2 seed. No surprise, they'll be currently set to have the first round bye. The Texans right now are holding on to the 3rd seed. They're leading the AFC South. The Browns are holding on to the 4th seed. They're leading the AFC North. And the 2 wild card teams, as of how things stand right now, are the Bills and the Raiders. Really surprised. I mean, Bills got the record, but I'm really surprised the Raiders were able to get into there. But there are multiple 2-2 teams, right? So that can really be flipped off. I really don't like looking at the playoff picture too early, but I like to look at them quarterly where things stand. We'll see if how much this gets mixed up by the time I do this after week 8. But as of right now, you're looking at the Chiefs Patriots with the first round bye. You'd be looking at the Texans would face the Raiders in the wild card weekend, and the Browns would face the Bills. Pretty interesting playoff picture, but I really think that's going to change because there's just too many 2-2 teams right now, and one thing can go to the other. And if you look at the Raiders' upcoming schedule after this week, it's pretty brutal. I think they understood when they went into Indianapolis that they needed to win that because they're on a long road stretch full of tough opponents. Now I'm going to go into division by division. The AFC South, I'm going to start there. Every team's 2-2. According to the standings, Texans are first, Colts are second, Jaguars are third, Titans are fourth. Now, this is the first time since the merger that there's ever been all 4 teams in a division with a 2-2 record. Texans, I don't know who that team is. After last week, I thought the Texans were set to go on a roll. I thought they would easily handle the Panthers, and they didn't. And I just think this is a team that you're going to get underneath Bill O'Brien. I think this is a team that is going to look really great one week, and then you're like, who the heck is this team the next week? Like, it's so too inconsistent. Their pass defense is terrible. I mean, they got Deshaun Watson, so with Deshaun Watson, I will always think they will have a chance to win this division. The Colts are just really banged up right now. I mean, they are out with obviously, Luck's in the past right now. Jacoby's their quarterback, so I'm not going to talk about Luck. But they're missing T.Y. Hilton, Darius Leonard, Malik Hooker. Those are 3 playmakers on both sides of the ball that make a big difference in games like yesterday. And they're always going to be, as we've seen this through the first quarter of the season, they're always going to be a team that will compete. They're always going to have a chance to win every game. But it's going to come down to them figuring out how to win those games and also figure out how to get up on opponents and not let the leads go away or just beat up on them. So with the Colts, I think under the leadership of Frank Reich, they have a chance to win the South this year. I think they'll be in a competition. And if you guys listened to my first episode when I gave predictions about the divisions, I did say this division will be within a game or two, and it's probably going to go to a team that finishes 9-7, 10-6. And as of right now, it's looking like that. The Jaguars are 2-2. Gardner Minshew Mania, still, they should have lost that game, but the Broncos lost that yesterday, but Minshew Mania led him to the comeback. I don't know, man. Like, I think if they can get Jalen Ramsey to actually playing and buying in, the Jaguars could have a chance. They got the defense. That offense is believing in Minshew. I don't want to sit here and discredit their last 2 games that led them to the 2-2, but I don't trust this whole experience throughout the whole season. I think they'll win games throughout the year. They'll beat teams like when they face bad teams like the Broncos, but I don't see them being the division winners unless Jalen Ramsey returns. If they can get Jalen Ramsey to fully commit himself to the Jaguars for the rest of the season, then I could see that happening. The Titans, they're 2-2, but I don't buy it, guys. This is what we saw last year. They're so inconsistent. It's like, either you're a bad team or you're really good, what we saw yesterday. What are we going to see from the Titans? It's kind of like the Texans. It's like, what are you guys? Like, do you want to be good or do you want to be bad? I don't trust the Titans. I honestly think this division will come down to the Colts and Texans. So that's something to monitor. And like I said, I'm going to update this every 4 weeks on you guys as far as how I feel. The AFC East, it's coming down to how I thought it would, right? Patriots are number one. Bills are 2 at 3-1. Jets are the third in division at 0-3. Dolphins are 0-4. This guy's Patriots division, it always will be until proven otherwise. It's the Patriots, right? I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to, blow them basically, but like they're gonna win this division. I mean, it's been expected. They're in one of the worst divisions of all time. The Bills, though, they're 3-1. I still think they can be that wild card team. They are that wild card team right now. But if Josh Allen's going to be missed a lot of time with this concussion, then that could really damper their season. As long as Allen can return, even if he has to miss a week, I think the Bills can still be that wild card team. And honestly, with them, I think they're really going to regret yesterday. And I think if they can at least perform throughout the season, they're going to want to have another shot at the Patriots in New England. But that you can say all that stuff, but we'll see if he can deliver at the end of the season. Guys, Jets just got to hope they can get healthy and at least compete at the end of the season. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season. They just got to worry about getting healthy. And, guys, the Dolphins are the Dolphins, man. They're tanking. But I will say this. Give credit, guys. Ever since Josh Rosen came in the last 2 weeks, the team has, looked somewhat better. The offense is moving the ball, even though there's still drops, if you tuned in at all yesterday, that Rosen's dealing with from his players. But I mean, they did play the Chargers relatively close throughout that game until about the fourth quarter, but it's just the lack of talent. It's just going to be very difficult for them to win games throughout the year. And then moving on to the AFC North, Browns are sitting at the top with a 2-2 record. Ravens are 2-2. Steelers are 0-3, and Bengals are 0-3. Browns are, after their terrible start, have already found themselves back on top of the division with a huge on-the-road win against the Ravens yesterday. With how I feel about them, I think there's a team that their talent is going to help them win games throughout the season. They still have a lot to work on. They got to get OBJ involved. Line performed a little bit better yesterday. I think they finally figured out they need to lean on Nick Chubb as much as possible. And just keep on, depending on that defensive front to get off the quarterback. And then once they can get their young cornerbacks back, that defense could still be really good. I still think this is the Browns division like I thought at the beginning of the year. They just got a lot of issues to work on if they want to compete with, the Chiefs or the Patriots. Now, with the Ravens, after their great start, they're now down to 2-2. And this is kind of the team I was expecting, right? They're going to win against teams they should beat, but when it comes to teams like the Chiefs and the Browns, they might struggle a little bit when it gets into shootouts, when their other teams are lighting them up throughout the year. I mean, you can only run the ball so much. Yes, Lamar was throwing the ball good at the beginning of the year, but he was also facing some pretty bad teams as well too. I think the Ravens are just going to be a team that will compete, will win. I do think they are going to be in a fight with the Browns throughout the year to win this division. But I think right now, I lean towards the Browns winning this division while the Ravens try to make a push for it while trying to hold on and get into the wild card spot into the playoffs. The other two teams, like what I talked about earlier, Steelers and Bengals, I really don't think either team are going to end up climbing back out of this hole. I think they're going to stay right where they are. Tonight will give us a tell as far as who will finish last in the AFC North, but I really don't think the Bengals or the Steelers are really going to do much this season. So unless Mason Rudolph starts lighting it up, I think it's a lost cause almost for the Steelers and Bengals this year. But who knows? They could turn things around and they could be, 4-3 by the time I talk about the division standings in the next 4 weeks. As far as the last division, the AFC West, the Chiefs, obviously 4-0 at the top. Raiders 2-2 at the second spot. Chargers are 2-2 at the third spot, and the Broncos are 0-4. Kind of like the Patriots, right? This is the Chiefs division to lose. Barring an utter collapse, the Chiefs are going to dominate this division. It's good. Chiefs are set to go on a 14-2, 13-3 record this year. They might drop some games here and there to some divisional opponents, just like every team does, but this is the Chiefs' division to lose at this point. As far as the Raiders, they're 2-2 somehow. Like, if you watch their games, it doesn't look like they should be winning the games. Derek Carr's not like overperforming. He's just doing enough to help them win. Their defense makes plays. Their defensive front's pretty good with like Mason Crosby, their rookie, was making some good plays yesterday. Tahir Whitehead, their linebacker's pretty good. But like I mentioned earlier, like they're about to go on a brutal stretch of games. So I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on to that spot. The Chargers, I think, will eventually be the team that climbs up to the second spot in the AFC West. They're pretty banged up still, so we'll see what they can do throughout the year. They have Melvin Gordon back. That should help them win games. They need to get healthy because that team's ridiculously banged up right now. I still think the Chargers can be a team that can squeeze in on the wild card spot, but it's going to be depending on them winning games without all the guys that are banged up right now. I still believe in the Chargers, but it's with like I slightly believe in the Chargers just because of all the injuries, not because of the coaching staff or anything like that. The Broncos 0-4. That team just finds ways to lose games, man. Like they should have beat the Bears earlier this season. They should have beat the Jaguars yesterday. They had a good lead on them, but they completely lost it in the second half of the game. I don't know if Vic Fangio is over his head as a head coach. I mean, obviously John Elway needs to be on scrutiny because since Peyton Manning left, I mean, Peyton Manning can make anybody look good. But since Peyton Manning has left, like he's just failed to put talent on that team, especially at the quarterback position. I think this is going to be a long year for the Broncos. They're going to be a team that has the talent on offense and defense to stay in games, to win games. But I just don't simply trust them to win those games. So until proven otherwise, they're going to be the bottom dweller of this division, and they're looking like they could be possibly picking inside the top 10 next year. And unfortunately, Drew Lock is hurt, so they can't even like really evaluate him where they might want to consider drafting a quarterback if they are in the top 10 of the draft next year. Let's see how they perform though over the next 4 weeks because, like I said, they have some talent on both sides of the ball. They have had chances to win games, but they keep on shooting themselves in the foot and losing those games. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the NFC. The current playoff picture for the NFC, 49ers sitting at top, mainly because they had a bye week and they got to take advantage of it. But they're 3-0. They're sitting at the number 1 seed. Saints are sitting at the 2 seed. Packers are at the 3rd seed. Cowboys are at the 4th seed. Bears are at the 5th seed. And the Seahawks are at the 6th seed. I think this could easily change. I mean, dude, you're talking about there are 3-1 teams sitting outside the playoff picture right now, like the Rams. And I could easily see the Rams being right back in the thick of things. And I could easily see the Rams winning the NFC West. And being, it's a matter of like these next 4 weeks, we could be talking about a team like the Rams at the number 1 seed. We could be talking about the Seahawks at the number 1 seed. We could be talking about the Bears. I mean, we could be talking about the Lions could go on a hot streak and be at the 1 seed. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the NFC right now. I think the NFC playoff picture is going to be constantly shaken up throughout the year. Like, I would not be surprised if there's 2 to 4 new teams when I talk about the playoff picture after week 8. But as of right now, 49ers and Saints are holding those the first round byes. The Packers would face the Seahawks in the wild card, and the Cowboys would face the Bears in the wild card. Moving on to the division by division, the Saints, of course, they're at the top of the NFC South. They have a 3-1 record. The Bucks are sitting second with a 2-2 record. The Panthers are sitting second with a 2-2 record, and the Falcons are sitting there with a 1-3 record. As of how things stand right now, obviously it's the Saints to lose. They got a good command. They got winnable games coming up. Obviously, this weekend's matchup against the Bucks is huge for both teams involved. The Bucks, man, if they would have just made that field goal by Matt Gay, they could be 3-1, sitting there tied with the Saints with a big opportunity coming on Sunday. So we will see how this division will play out. But I'm definitely going to lean towards the Saints and Sean Payton because he's finding a way to lead to victories. But the Bucks, they're going to be a team, obviously, that are going to be in competitiveness every game. Bruce Arians has Jameis look, I won't say fixed, but he's definitely looking a lot better than he did last year. So he's looking like he could potentially be the answer. I'm not going to fully jump 2 feet into that boat yet. But if he keeps on playing like this, that team's always going to have an opportunity to put up points. And if that defense can keep on forcing sacks and turnovers, I mean, they're going to be a team that's not going to be easy to beat week in and week out. The Panthers, they're 2-2. Kyle Allen played. He had an up and down game yesterday. Obviously, you heard me give all the praise to Christian McCaffrey. They're a team where, like, I think if Kyle Allen can help them stay afloat and then Cam Newton can truly get 100% healthy, they were a team that I picked to go as a wild card to begin the season. So I do think they got the talent to do so. I just don't know how I feel about it with Kyle Allen. Like, Kyle Allen did ball out, first 2 starts, and then now he's he had an up and down game yesterday. So we'll see. I mean, I could definitely still see the Panthers making it as a wild card team, but they're a team I'm kind of still iffy on. I need to see more out of the team from the offense and defense. But hey, you got to give credit where credit's due. They're 2-2. They're within, a game of the division and, within a game of the wild card spot. So if the ball bounces their way, I could easily see them being in the playoff picture after the next 4 weeks. And then with the Falcons, they're 1-3. Guys, they're just not looking good. They look undisciplined. I knew the Keon O'Neal injury was going to be huge for them, like it was last year. The Titans, out of all teams, lit them up throughout the air. I'm going to be honest. I think the Falcons season's could easily just slip away, and I could definitely see the Falcons finishing last in this division, which is sad because they were a team that I thought if everything could gel right for them, they could make the playoffs, but everything's going completely opposite for them between the injuries. Devontae Freeman's not looking like himself anymore. Matt Ryan's kind of been shaky on some throws, so as of right now, I just simply do not trust the Falcons. Moving on to the NFC East, the Cowboys are right now sitting on top, 3-1. Eagles are 2-2 after a shaky month. Giants are probably surprising people. They're 2-2, and the Redskins are 0-4. I still think this division is going to come down between the Cowboys and Eagles. Yes, the Giants are 2-2. I just think with Daniel Jones, they're going to win some games. They're going to be fun to watch here and there, especially when Barkley gets back. They get Golden Tate back this week as well. But that defense is still terrible, guys. So, I don't think the Giants are really going to be in competition to win the NFC East or even to get in the wild card spot. But, hey, at least the Giants fans got some hope, and they're going to – it went from basically they'll probably lose every game to, hey, at least Daniel Jones is playing well, had an up and down game yesterday, but they still found a way to win. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Cowboys and Eagles, I don't know. I still think the Eagles have the talent to win this division. They're really banged up. They need to get their everybody back healthy. I do believe I think this is the week that Deshaun Jackson will be back. They did get Alshon Jeffrey back last week. They just need to get on a roll. Cowboys, they just got to hope they can shake off how they looked against the Saints yesterday and get back to how we saw them in the first 3 weeks. I think the Eagles do win this division still, though. I think the Cowboys are going to end up dropping some games here and there. I wasn't a big fan of them heading into the season for long projections, but I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due. They are on top of their division. They are 3-1. But after the next 4 weeks, I can easily see the Eagles being on top of the NFC East. And if the Cowboys don't get things together after last night's performance, it could go south quick. But I think the Cowboys are good enough where they're going to be in competition with the Eagles throughout the rest of the season for the division lead, and they should obviously be within competition to make it in as a wild card game. I just still think this division can be the Eagles to win. Moving on to the NFC North, this is a tough division to figure out, but Packers 3-1 currently, Bears are 3-1, Lions are 2-1-1, and the Vikings are 2-2. The Packers sit on top, but I still don't try. And when I talked about them last week heading into their matchup with the Eagles, they're still a team I just don't really trust. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on to that top spot in the NFC North, but it does help that the Bears might be without Mitchell Trubisky. I do think, like I mentioned earlier, Chase Daniel can do enough to help the Bears win, but how much is going to be put on that Bears defense to help them win? With the Lions, man, I got to give credit. Like, I thought they were going to get smashed by the Chiefs, and they didn't. They had plenty of opportunities to win that game. They honestly probably should have won that game against the Chiefs. Honestly, I could see if the Lions can get on a hot streak, I could see the Lions win this division. And if you listen to my first episode, I've almost basically done a completely 180 on the Lions at this point. So I think the Lions can be in competition. The biggest disappointment, though, to me in this division is the Vikings. I picked the Vikings to win this division. Kirk Cousins cannot get it together. He is looking really bad. I also want to put blame on Mike Zimmer, too, because, like, without Mitchell Trubisky, you should not lose to a backup quarterback. He allowed Daniels to make too many easy throws on crucial downs yesterday. So I don't know how to pick this division. Like, I think honestly, all four teams to me right now can easily win this division. I mean, all four teams can win this division easily. If I had to pick, I mean, and this is no slight against Chase Daniels, and I'm not the biggest Mitchell Trubisky fan, but if Trubisky was healthy, I would say the Bears because of their defense. But I'm going to have to go with the Packers because I do trust Aaron. I can't believe after I just trashed the Packers, I'm saying this now, but Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in that division. And yes, the Lions did perform better, but I'm not completely sold on the Lions. They have a chance to completely win me over, depending on how they depend on the play over this next 4 weeks. But this division's difficult to predict right now. I'm going to lean towards the Packers, but I think any of these four teams could go on a hot streak and win this division, and I would not be surprised if we see two representatives from this division in the NFC playoffs by the end of the year. And then moving on to last division of the NFC West, this is another division I don't know how to pick outside the Cardinals. 49ers are sitting on top 3-0, which if you guys have heard past episodes, like I'm not really buying the 49ers 3-0 star, not because of their defense up front, but mainly because I really don't trust their secondary too much, and I don't trust the offense completely yet. The Seahawks are 3-1. They're at the second spot. The Rams are 3-1 at the third spot. The Cardinals are 3-1. 49ers, we'll see. They're coming off their bye week. They got a Monday night matchup against the Browns, so they're going to be tested to see if they can play against a really good, talented team like the Browns. I don't know. Like, I got to see more of them. I'm not going to sit here and buy into the 49ers yet, but they got a good coach in Kyle Shanahan, so I could see them if Jimmy Garoppolo can put together a full game. I think that's what I'm waiting on. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo has showed some flashes of goodness. He's also showed some flashes of his poorness. So I don't know where I am on this team, to be honest with you guys. I think the 49ers can win underneath the leadership of Kyle Shanahan, but I need that full, like, Jimmy Garoppolo ball-out, breakout type of performance from him before I completely dive into them as a team. Seahawks, to me, guys, they're going to be a team that, with Russell Wilson, with Pete Carroll, they can win games. But their pass defense isn't too great, but they are getting now help out of Jadeveon Clowney finally. We saw yesterday. If he can continue that type of performance, their defense should get better, especially when they get it's my fault for forgetting the D tackle's name off the top of my head, Jaron Reed. As soon as they get him back from his 6-game suspension, that defensive front will get better. I still think this is a team that needs to figure out their secondary. Their offense still has a lot of questions. Chris Carson did a lot better yesterday. They're starting to pass a little bit more, let Russell throw the ball to like guys like Will Dissey, Tyler Lockett. So we'll see how they can perform. I just think they're one of those teams that are always going to be in the games to win, and they'll beat teams that they should beat as well. Now, with the Rams, I don't know how to figure them out because their defense was looking so good at the beginning of the season, and then they got ate alive by Jameis Winston and the Bucs yesterday. And on top of that, Jared Goff, what happened? Like, this guy is tossing picks, fumbling the ball left and right. I believe I saw a stat yesterday. He has 14 fumbles in his last 13 games. He's making questionable decisions when he's throwing the ball. Like, I don't know what this team is right now. Like, they got the good coaching staff, they got talent on both sides of the ball. I mean, they are 3-1, but it's almost like it feels like they're one of the ugliest 3-1 teams this year. I don't know. I still think this is going to be the Rams division, though, with all that being said. I think I trust their coaching staff. They'll get it figured out. I think Sean McVay will work with Jared Goff and cut down those mistakes. I think they can win this division still. But this is, like I said, I can see the 49ers, Seahawks, or Rams all winning it. These next 4 weeks are crucial for all the three of those teams as far as determining who will win this division. And I think just like the NFC North, I think like the NFC West, right? I think between both those divisions, one of them is going to win the division, and we're going to see a wild card from either of those divisions. So every game's crucial for those teams. Right now, I think the Rams will win. I think the 49ers will come back down to earth eventually, and then the Seahawks will be a team that will compete throughout the year. But I think they do have what it takes to win a division, but I think they're more of a wild card team at this point. And not to, completely ignore you for the Cardinals fans that listen to this show, but you guys have no talent on that team. And I don't even know if it's really Kyler Murray's fault or even Cliff Kingsbury's fault as much as it's their general manager, Steve Keim's fault. He's just put together a poor team. I mean, this is why they were bad last year. This is why Josh Rosen looked bad last year. And this is why Kyler Murray's kind of looking bad this year. It's because that offensive line's terrible. They don't have talent outside. I mean, yes, David Johnson's finally getting going. Larry Fitz is Larry Fitz, but outside of that, I mean, Christian Kirk's good, but I believe he hurt his ankle yesterday on that final drive. So their offense is up and down throughout the whole starting roster on that side, and their defenses. I mean, Chandler Jones and Suggs were making plays yesterday, but that pass defense is terrible. I mean, the Cardinals are just going to struggle throughout the year, and I'm still waiting on this air raid offense because as of right now, it's looking ugly so far. And I have no clue where this Kyler Murray / Cliff Kingsbury experience is going and how long it's going to last. I mean, it's going to last at least a year, probably at least 2 or 3 years. And I mean, if you went this route, you got to pretty much commit yourself to the process. But it has not been out to a good start. They just got to hope that offense can start gelling before it's a long season and they're picking in the top 5 again this year. Moving on to my prediction for the upcoming Thursday night game. It's a huge one, boys, and I think we're in store for another, and girls too, listen to the show. But it's a huge one because I think we're in store for another good game like we saw last week with the Eagles and Packers. Rams are traveling up to the Seahawks to face Seattle. This is difficult for me to predict because these teams play each other based on their history really close. Seattle's always typically tougher at home as well. I think the Rams pulled us off. I think they're going to shake off that loss to the Bucs. I think they have the offensive firepower to pick apart the weaker secondary of the Seahawks, and I think they're going to find a way to win. I do think it'll be close. I think it'll be like a 27-21, 24 win for the Rams. I got the Rams winning this, grabbing control. Well, not control of the NFC West, but potentially grabbing control of the NFC West again, depending on how the 49ers play on Monday. And then moving on to my producer question. And if you guys, it's your first episode tuning in, Rob, my producer that helps me put this together, make sure I don't have any major audio issues for you guys. He asked me a question at the end of the script, and I don't see this question until I get down to the bottom of my script either. I let him throw me off guard. His question today: which team in the playoff picture falls out, and which team jumps in over the next couple weeks for both conferences? I think for the AFC, it's going to be a pretty easy pick for me, but I think the Raiders fall out of that 6th seed. And I think as far as who jumps in in the wild card spot. I think it would either the chart. It's hard to pick because I don't have the upcoming 4 games for everybody playing up, but I think it would be either between the Ravens, one of the AFC South teams like the Colts, or the Chargers. I think one of those 3 teams will eventually jump in over them as a wild card team. On the NFC part, this is tough because, like, you know what? I think the Niners, who are the number 1 seed, end up falling out of the playoff picture eventually, because I'm not completely sold on them quite yet. And I could see the I've already picked the win, so I could see the Rams jumping easily back into the playoff picture. I also could see the Bears falling out too with the Mitchell Trubisky injury. I could see the Packers. I mean, like I was talking about earlier, I could see a lot of these teams falling out of this NFC playoff picture. I think it's going to be completely different when I talk about it after week 8. So, but if I have to pick one team, I would go with the 49ers right now because I'm not completely sold on them, and I would put the Rams in over them. And then other than that, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Like I said, this is something I'm want to get better at. If anybody has any suggestions or anybody wants to ask me personal questions, feel free to slide in my DMs, send me a text message if you got my number. My Twitter handle is @Cody Talks NFL. And also, guys, always keep in mind the audio version does eventually get put up on the Blitzalytics podcast network. If you Google search that, you'll find us on any major podcast platform like iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. I use Podbean for my podcast, which our podcasts do come on. There's multiple networks that we do come up on. And then also on the Blitzalytics podcast network, you got shows like the Blitz Breakdown. You got shows like Pick Six and the Fantasy Football Hot Seat, which will be back this week because I believe Rob is sounding a lot better this week for us. So we should be back this week. I do apologize about missing last week. It's more of a fun show for me and Rob. We like to talk. We like to talk about fantasy football. And if people have been paying attention, I've been thinking about it lately, Rob. We've been right on some players for our preseason projections. So please tune into that. And then most importantly, guys, please go check out the All Heart Charity League that's presented by Blitzalytics. It's 10 teams for 10 different charities. Go to go.rallyup.com/allheart and /campaign, and you guys can donate to any of the 10 charities. All donations basically help them determine the waiver wire order every week. And it's, as much as it is for one of those 10 representing teams to win the league, this is about raising money for a great cause, for 10 great causes. So if you guys got a little extra funds where you can help out with that, please go over there and help any of those teams out. As much as I want you to go help out the Blitz Breakdown or, John Stocco or David Connors, another Blitz team, or go help out Marcus Crane at NFL Network, go help out Zach Moore of Over the Cap, Aaron Schatz at Football Outsiders. We got tons of great representatives as well, all for great causes. So if you guys can help out, please go over there. Other than that, guys, we're through the first quarter of the season. This is still mind-blowing to me. Like, before you know it, we're going to be eating pumpkin pie and some great fucking turkey. So that's going to be, I can't believe we're already, basically it's October. Today's September 30th. But thank you guys for tuning in so much. Stay tuned for the Friday episode. Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.